The boy was just turning 11, an age when birthdays often mean balloons, laughter, and brightly wrapped boxes filled with surprises. Yet, as his special day approached, he carried a quiet heaviness in his heart. While his friends spoke excitedly about new toys, video games, and parties, he found his thoughts drifting somewhere else, to the children he had seen during a hospital visit with his mother months earlier. Their faces had stayed with him like shadows that refused to fade. Some smiled bravely, despite their frailty, while others stared at the floor, too tired to lift their heads. He remembered how the sterile white walls of the hospital seemed to swallow the sound of joy. At night, lying in his bed, he would stare at the ceiling and wonder why he should receive so much when others had so little. Birthdays were meant to be a celebration of life, but how could he celebrate without thinking of those who spent their days fighting illnesses, hooked to machines, unable to run or play freely? The thought gnawed at him, making what should have been a happy time feel strangely hollow. His mother noticed his quiet mood. She didn't press him, but one evening as they sat together at the kitchen table, she asked gently what weighed on him. He hesitated, unsure if his feelings would even make sense when spoken aloud. Finally, he told her that he didn't feel right asking for gifts this year. The faces of those children in the hospital kept returning to him, and he felt almost guilty imagining himself surrounded by piles of presents, while others might not even have the strength to blow out a candle. His mother listened quietly, her eyes soft with understanding. Then she asked him one simple question. What do you think would make your birthday truly meaningful? He sat with the question for a long moment. He thought about the thrill of tearing open wrapping paper, the rush of joy at seeing something he had wanted for weeks, but those feelings seemed fleeting compared to the thought of handing a gift to a child who hadn't smiled in days. A small spark lit inside him, fragile but growing. Maybe his birthday could be more than just about him. As the idea settled in his heart, it both frightened and excited him. He knew it wouldn't be easy to explain to his friends. He knew he might feel a pang of loss when no gifts arrived for him. Yet, there was a quiet strength rising within him, whispering that perhaps this was the path his heart was meant to take. The days leading up to his birthday became different from any he had known before. Instead of circling items in catalogs or dropping hints to his relatives, he spent his evenings thinking about how to turn his decision into action. His mother supported him completely, but she left the choice in his hands. She wanted this to be his gift, not hers. Together, they spoke with the hospital staff, and arrangements were made for him to deliver toys and books to the children on his birthday. The boy felt a mix of emotions, pride, nervousness, and even a little fear. When he told his friends at school about his decision, the reactions were not what he had hoped. Some laughed and told him he was crazy for giving up his birthday gifts. Others looked at him with disbelief, as if kindness was something too heavy for a child to carry. He smiled weakly and shrugged, but their words stung. That night, lying awake in his bed, he wondered if he had made a mistake. Would he regret it when the day arrived, and there were no gifts waiting for him? His mother noticed his unease and sat with him once more. She reminded him that giving does not mean losing it, means creating light where darkness lives. Her words stayed with him. He realized that while his friends couldn't understand now, maybe one day they would see what he saw. On the morning of his birthday, the house was quiet. No colorful packages stacked on the table, no sounds of paper being torn apart. Instead, the boy woke with a calm determination. He dressed carefully, his hands trembling a little as he picked up the bags filled with toys, books, and small treasures chosen for children who had so little. Each item felt heavier than it should, as though carrying the weight of his choice. The car ride to the hospital felt longer than usual. He stared out the window, his mind racing between excitement and worry. Would the children accept these gifts? Would they even notice him? Yet underneath his doubts was a steady beat of courage, telling him he was about to step into something greater than himself. As the hospital building came into view, his chest tightened. He clutched the bags closer, realizing that this was no longer just about gifts. This was about offering hope, even if only in small pieces, to children who needed it more than he ever had. His birthday had transformed into something far bigger, and though he didn't fully understand it yet, he was ready to walk into that new meaning. When he walked into the hospital with his mother, the boy felt the familiar chill of white walls and the quiet hum of machines. But this time, his hands were full, and his heart was lighter. Nurses greeted him with warm smiles, and soon he was guided into a ward where several children sat in their beds, some hooked to 4 drips, others clutching stuffed animals worn with time. The room seemed to brighten as he entered, not because of balloons or decorations, but because of the possibility he carried in his arms. He approached the first bed, where a little girl with pale cheeks looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. With trembling hands, he offered her a wrapped book, its cover adorned with colorful illustrations. For a moment, she hesitated, then her lips curled into a small, shy smile. It was not just gratitude he saw in her eyes, it was recognition, the joy of being remembered. The boy felt something shift inside him, as if her smile had unlocked a hidden truth. One by one, he handed out the gifts. A toy car to a boy whose hands trembled, but whose laughter filled the room when the wheels spun across his blanket. A soft doll to a child who hugged it tightly, as if she had been waiting for it all along. Each gift was small, but the reactions they sparked were immense. The sterile room seemed to fill with color and warmth, as though his act of giving had painted over the walls themselves. The boy's heart swelled with emotions he couldn't name. It wasn't the fleeting thrill of tearing open presents for himself. It was something deeper, like a quiet flame that burned steadily, warming him from the inside. He realized that he hadn't lost anything at all. He had gained more than he ever could have imagined. When the last gift had been given, the children clapped softly, their energy fragile but real. The nurses thanked him, their voices thick with emotion. His mother watched silently, her eyes glistening, proud of the son who had chosen kindness over comfort. In that moment, the boy felt taller, stronger, as though he had stepped into a new version of himself. That evening, when they returned home, the house was still without presents, but it no longer felt empty. The boy sat quietly, replaying the children's smiles in his mind, carrying them like treasures that could never be unwrapped. His friends might not understand, but he no longer needed their approval. He had discovered a truth that belonged only to him, that the greatest gift we can ever receive is the joy reflected in someone else's eyes. His birthday was no longer just a celebration of his life. It had become a celebration of life itself. Sometimes the smallest choices hold the greatest meaning. The boy who donated his birthday gifts may have been young, but his decision carried the wisdom of a lifetime. He discovered that joy multiplies when shared, and that kindness plants seeds in places we cannot always see. Perhaps the greatest celebrations are not measured in the gifts we open, but in the hearts we touch. If this story moved you, take a moment to reflect on the power of giving. Share it, leave your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of life's quiet truths.